It's time to argue with Dr. Breus. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes.
It's time to thrive in 25, and today we're focusing on why sleeping and breathing techniques have a significant impact on longevity. So here to break it down for us is the author of Sleep, Drink, Breathe, Dr. Michael Breus. Dr. Breus.
Thank you.
Okay, so
why is breathing so important to sleep?
So generally, breathing is important to everything, but it is very important to sleep. One of the things that we know is a lot of people in the middle of the night have a tendency to wake up and then have a difficult time falling back to sleep. And so one of the breathing techniques that I recommend, which is not your favorite, but I'm going to show you a new way to do it.
It's impossible to remember, and it doesn't make any sense.
Let's talk it through. It's called 4-7-8 breathing. All right?
Right away, it makes no sense.
Okay, so
4, 7, and 8.
So the way it works is you slowly breathe in for a count of 4, you hold for a count of 7, you breathe out for a count of 8. Now, I want to be fair. When I first tried this, holding to a count of 7 and breathing out to a count of 8 was kind of hard. So I modified it and made it 4, 5, 6.
Okay.
Oh, that's
So
better.
that's a little bit
I like
easier to
that.
remember, number one, right? Is so breathe in for 4, hold for 5, release for 6. But here's the problem. You need to go through about 10 or 12 cycles of this to lower your heart rate to allow you to fall back to sleep. I don't know about you guys, but I can't remember what cycle I'm on in the middle of the night.
I can't remember what numbers you just told me.
Well, you can remember 4, 5, 6. I've seen you do that one before.
4, 5, 6.
But here's what I have you do. When you're lying in bed, what I'll have you do is put your hands next to your side while you're trying this. Okay, with your fist lightly clenched.
Lightly.
Right, and you do an inhale for 4, hold for 5, 4, 5, out for 6. Now stick out one finger. Now do it again. Inhale for 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 5, 4, 5. Out for 6. Now stick out another finger.
That is a lot to remember.
Here's why it works, is because what you're trying to do is lower your heart rate. In order to get into a state of, you can put your arms down. In order for a state of unconsciousness, you have to get a heart rate of 60 or below. And so this technique brings your heart rate to 60 very quickly. However, what it does is it forces you to count so you can't think, because one of the biggest problems is people start thinking in the middle of the night and they get what my wife calls monkey mind, and that's what we want to avoid. So 4-7-8 does two things. It lowers your heart rate while distracting you long enough to be able to get through it. So if you can try this little thing with the fists on the side, I can almost promise you it's going to work.
But why do the fingers come out?
Because you want to go through 10 cycles, because that's where you brings your heart rate down.
So 10 fingers, then we're done. Then we're unconscious.
So explain to us the impact of lack of sleep on our longevity.
You bet. So when we're sleep deprived, a whole host of things can happen. When we're looking at short-term sleep deprivation, like 24 hours, 36 hours, 48 hours, we're looking at cognitive decline in the first 24, fatigue probably in 36, and by the time you get to 48, you could actually not be too in touch with reality. So we really know that, but those are short, right? Those are short term. What about long-term sleep deprivation? For example, a lot of people say to me, well, Michael, I don't get more than 6 hours during the week, and I want to try to catch up on the weekends.
Right. Does that work? Can you make up for lost sleep like that?
Great question. So it's hard to do so. Here's what ends up happening. It's kind of like a diet. You don't diet Monday through Friday and then go off the rails on Saturday. Well, maybe you do.
I totally do, and we all do that, Dr.
But it doesn't really affect your diet in a positive way. Sleep is kind of the same way. But here's the hack, is I'll let you sleep in for about 35 to 45 extra minutes on Saturday. But if you sleep too long, you end up with something called Sunday night insomnia. Let me explain. You stay up late on Friday, sleep in on Saturday. Stay up late on Saturday, sleep in on Sunday. Sunday night, your body wants to stay up late. Sunday night insomnia.
It's like jet lag. Like you've actually changed
It's like
your
a social
time
jet
zone.
lag. Yeah, that's a great way to think about it.
I just invented something, guys. Okay, I'm trademarking social insomnia. Wow, okay. I always thought you could, really catch up on that. And when you talk about sleep deprivation, I know you were talking about like 24 hours, like that's staying up all the time. But if you are not sleeping enough every night, like maybe you're supposed to get 8 hours, you only get 6. Same effect?
Let's talk about that for a second, because sleep is flexible, okay? I don't want people to sit there and think, I've got to get 8, I've got to get 8 all the time.
Because then you start to panic.
Exactly, and you start to freak out. And when you freak out in the middle of the night, you do the opposite of sleep. You wake up, you don't sleep. That's where the 4-7-8 or the 4-5-6 can go into play really nicely.
Well, just going back to 4-7-8, why 4-7-8? Like, why those numbers specifically?
So, interestingly enough, the way it works is when you, most people are shallow breathers, which means they don't extend their lung. And so when you breathe in for a count of 4, you fully extend the lung, right? So you fill it up. When you fill up the lung, the heart has to work half as much. So that allows the heart rate to lower. Since most people are shallow breathers and they only use half their lung, their heart has to beat twice as much.
I see.
Remember, we want to be at 60 or below.
Right.
So this is how we get there really
My gosh,
easy.
all these
I didn't even
so
know
much
that.
math for
I
us to
know.
think about.
4,
We don't
5,
do
6,
math.
you can do it. I promise.
And there are some other things we all know are bad, like to get into the sleep kind of rhythm.
Screen
eating,
time,
screen time, watching
right.
television.
I'll tell you the biggest offender, I got to be honest with you, it's alcohol, all right?
Alcohol.
So many people, believe it or not, alcohol is the #1 sleep aid in the world. More people drink themselves to sleep than any other possibility. It's really not good because it really destroys stage 3, 4 sleep, which is your wake up and feel great sleep, your physical restoration. Also, during this stage of sleep is when a system comes in and cleans out some proteins that are in your head to prevent Alzheimer's. So you really want to focus on stage 3, 4 sleep, and alcohol is no bueno.
Okay, so avoid it before bedtime. All right, well, more with the sleep doctor when we come back.
We're back with Dr. Breus, whose mom's Beth is watching right now. And
Hey, Mom.
Beth, I want to apologize to you because we try to listen to your son, but sometimes we're not so good at it. But more good news from Dr. Breus. We are talking about potential sleep disorders. Now, Mark has been taken to mouth taping at night. It helps me sleep better.
I bet.
Because
You don't
he's
hear the
not
snoring.
as much. But you were saying it's not the greatest thing?
So when we think about mouth tape, there's a few things we want to be careful about. So a lot of people don't know, but if you have undiagnosed sleep apnea and you use mouth tape, it masks the symptoms, and we have no idea that you actually have a sleep disorder. So I'm not a fan of mouth tape unless you have some form of sleep testing done beforehand to make sure that you don't have a sleep disorder. Here's the good news. It used to be when you'd have to have a sleep disorder tested, you'd have to go into the hospital, 27 electrodes, belts all over,
and you sleep
video
there.
cameras. Like, who sleeps well in that?
Right.
Since COVID, we've fast forwarded everything. Now you can push a button and I can send a sleep study to your house. It shows up when you wake up in the morning, the data ports over to your phone, and then you get on the internet and you talk with one of our doctors. It happens in 3 days. It's unbelievable how easy it is to get a sleep test.
He
now.
has to do that.
Let's do
Let's
that.
do it.
Because I really do, though. I do enjoy watching him tape his mouth closed.
Well, but I think that psychologically might be something a little different.
It helps me sleep
Yeah, I
better.
understand. I understand where you're at with
Yeah.
this one. But breathing in general is something that a lot of people don't think about. And a lot of people, when we're talking about breathing, really, breathing goes through the nose, not through the mouth. And that's really one of the things we want to think about. Why? Because when we go through the nose, it's filtered. It gets warmer and it gets moist, and that allows for oxygen exchange much better. I talk to people, when you're breathing through your mouth, it's like putting leaded gas in the car, right? You don't, no bueno, right? You don't want to do that.
I feel like I start breathing through the nose, like I'm sleeping, and I'm like, do that, and then I wake up in the middle of the night, and it's like the mouth is like the Sahara, and I was
So
like,
let's
oh,
talk
mouth
about
breathing.
that. Oftentimes that has to do with congestion, right? That's going on in the night. So one of the easy fixes is to just get a small one-room air filter and put it in your bedroom. A lot of people don't think about it, but you're in one room for a heck of a lot longer than any other room. You want that air to be super clean in terms of particulates and things like that. So even if you don't, like a $30 air purifier just for your bedroom, oftentimes can make it so that you continue to breathe through your nose.
Or a humidifier, or you
love humidifiers, especially now that it's winter and the heat turns on. It takes a lot of that out of the air, so you can definitely add a little bit of humidity because, again, that's much better for oxygen exchange.
This is off topic, but I just have to ask, are we all swallowing tons of spiders while we sleep?
So this is a great question. I've actually gotten this question before. You are not alone.
It just popped into my mind when Carson was talking about it.
No, we are not swallowing spiders in our sleep, especially when we have our mouths open. But there are a couple things that might be floating around in the air that you're going to be careful about.
Okay. Well, thank you for all of this information.
Of course.
It is always so good to have you here.
For more information about this topic and more, pick up a copy of Dr. Breus's book, Sleep, Drink, Breathe, available everywhere books are sold.